The house always felt different before Eli came back, but it took me years to understand what that difference actually was. It wasn't quieter. Not exactly. My parents still moved around the same way. My mom still kept the television on in the background, and my dad still fell asleep in his chair. With it playing too loud, everything that should have made the house feel normal was still there. What changed was something harder to explain. The space itself felt settled, like everything in it was where it belonged. That feeling never lasted. "I don't like it when Eli comes home," I said once, standing in the kitchen doorway while my mom dried her hands on a towel. She didn't look surprised. She never did when I said things like that.
You know why he has to go away sometimes.
She replied, her voice careful, controlled. "I know what you say," I answered. "I just don't think it's the whole reason." She paused at that, finally turning to look at me.
And what do you think the reason is?
I didn't have a good answer, not one that sounded right out loud. "I think something's wrong with him," I said finally.
That's what we've been telling you.
She replied, but there was something in her tone that didn't match the words. "No," I said, shaking my head. "Not like that. I mean something else." She studied me for a moment longer than she should have, then looked away.
You're just scared.
She said.
And that's okay.
I didn't argue. There was no point. Eli always came back the same way. Normal. That was the word everyone used, and for a while it even seemed true. He smiled more than he used to. He asked questions. He laughed at things that weren't funny, but in a way that felt like he was trying to get it right rather than mock it. If you didn't know him, you wouldn't notice anything off. If you did, you couldn't ignore it.
"You missed me?"
He asked the last time he came home, dropping his bag by the door. I hesitated just long enough for him to notice.
"You always pause."
He said, tilting his head slightly.
"Right there, before you answer."
"I was thinking," I replied.
"You don't need to think about that."
He said, smiling in a way that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I do," I said. He watched me for another second, then nodded, as if he'd learned something useful.
"Okay,"
he said.
"That makes sense."
It didn't. Not really. The first few days were always the easiest. Nothing went missing. Nothing felt out of place. My parents relaxed just enough that you could see it in the way they moved, the way they spoke to each other without lowering their voices. Then small things started happening. A fork would disappear and turn up somewhere it didn't belong. My dad's keys would end up in the freezer. My mom's phone would be found in a drawer she never used. They laughed about it in front of him. They stopped laughing when he left the room. I asked him about it once. "Did you move the keys?" I said, leaning against the counter while he ate. He didn't look up right away. He chewed slowly, swallowed, then set his fork down carefully.
"I didn't move them,"
he said. "But you knew where they were," I replied. That made him smile again.
"Yes,"
he said.
"I knew where they would be."
"That's not the same thing."
"It is to me,"
he said. I didn't know how to respond to that. The night everything changed didn't start any differently from the others. We had dinner. My parents argued quietly about something that didn't matter. Eli watched them the way he watched everything, like he was taking notes. Later, we went to our rooms. I remember lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around me. The air felt heavier than it had earlier, like something had shifted without anyone acknowledging it. That was when I heard the hallway. It wasn't loud, just the soft, careful sound of someone trying not to be heard. I held my breath without meaning to. The footsteps stopped outside my door. There was a pause. Then the handle turned slightly, just enough to test it. The door creaked open. I kept my eyes closed. I don't know why. Maybe I thought if I didn't see it, it wouldn't be real. The air in the room shifted. I felt it more than heard it, the presence of someone standing too close to the bed. Then came the breathing. Soft, measured, not quite matching the rhythm of a normal person. I opened my eyes. Eli stood beside the bed, looking down at me. His expression was calm, almost curious, like he'd been waiting for me to wake up.
Are you awake?
He asked. I nodded slowly. We stayed like that for a moment, just looking at each other. Then he smiled.
I wanted to see which one you'd look at first.
He said. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? I asked. He didn't answer right away. He just nodded slightly toward the other side of the room. Behind me, everything in me told me not to turn around, that nothing good would come from it. But I did anyway. The room looked the same at first. The dresser, the window, the shadows in the corners where the light didn't reach. Then I saw the bed. Someone was lying in it. In my bed, facing away from me. The same position I'd been in before I sat up. The same shape. The same outline. I turned back toward Eli. He was gone. The space where he'd been standing was empty, like he'd never been there at all. No footsteps, no sound, nothing. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't tell my parents what I'd seen either. Because when morning came, everything was normal again. Eli sat at the table eating cereal. My mom poured coffee. My dad scrolled through his phone like nothing had happened. No one mentioned the night. No one acted like anything was wrong. Except Eli. He looked at me once, just once, and smiled. Later that day, my parents told me he was going back. They didn't explain why. They didn't need to. I should have felt relieved. I almost did, until he passed by me in the hallway, close enough that I could feel the air shift around him.
You didn't look fast enough,
He said quietly. I didn't respond. I couldn't. He kept walking. And just before he reached the door, he added, almost as an afterthought,
I think I'm getting better at it.
he hasn't come back since. My parents say it isn't safe. They say he's getting worse. They say a lot of things. I let them, because it's easier than explaining what I know now. Sometimes, late at night, when the house feels too quiet again, I hear movement in the hallway. Soft, careful, like someone trying not to be heard. And every once in a while, when I wake up suddenly, for no reason I can explain, I have the strangest feeling that I'm not alone in my room. That something is standing just out of sight, waiting for me to move. Waiting to see which one I look at first.
You know what makes that story stick? It's not Eli. It's not the room. It's the moment, right before you decide to look. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And worse, you don't always know if you looked at the right one. So tonight, when you wake up and something feels just slightly off, when the room looks the same but not quite right, take your time. Don't move too fast. Don't look too quickly. Because if something's standing there watching you, it might already be waiting to see which one you choose first. This has been a Studio Sinister short story. Listen closely. Not everything stays in the shadows.